Hello, my brothers and sisters. I don't know how else to be able to begin this because this Impact had a lot of action-packed segments in it, but there's one major problem. I wasn't able to do my last Impact review. I was very sick with my allergies. And I make it very clear that I get very sick with allergies. My area, it has a high pollen count because there's a lot of trees in the area. And there's nothing I can do. So I get sick. I was happy to see Lashley as champion. I thought he was constructed terrible building into it. Yes, I'm not going to lie about it. Lashley has a bad build going into becoming the champion. But he's champion. And that's something the WWE has never done in the last 10 years at least, 20 years at least, 30 years at least. No, Rock don't count. He's half black, half Samoan, and he doesn't consider himself black. He considers himself Samoan. I'm a mixed American myself. I don't just consider myself Puerto Rican. I consider myself all my nationalities. But as a black competitor, you don't get an opportunity like Bobby Lashley has. And I commend TNA. Until I saw this Impact, and even though it was very action-packed in many places, what they did was very dumb. You give us something different, and then you renege it to a certain extent. Let's move on to the other stuff first before I get to this final segment. Now, we open with the show with a Knockouts tag match. Something we don't usually get. We get a promo segment like with WWE. TNA, they almost follow the same pattern. They open with a damn promo segment. We didn't get that. We got a tag team match with the Knockouts of the Beautiful People versus Terrence Terrell and Gail Kim. Crowd loved it. I have one problem with it. Why couldn't Terrence Terrell... You see I'm botching because Terrence Terrell should have been the one that was over more than Gail Kim. I'm sorry. If you think that Terrence Terrell needs some tuna matches to get back into the business of TNA, I can understand that. You could have left her by herself with a Velvet Sky. You could have left her by herself with a Brittany, which Brittany and Madison Rayne were not seen at all in this show. You could have pulled Brittany out to give Terrence Terrell a tuna match. But this situation lines Gail Kim up more than Terrence Terrell. Does that mean they're going to turn Gail Kim heel? No! Terrence Terrell and Gail Kim are going to still be friends. So it makes no sense whatsoever why Gail Kim wins this. She doesn't need to have the same thing. We want something fresh and new. Terrence Terrell just came back. She and Gail Kim kicked the ass of the Beautiful People last week. Why not let her win on... Why not Velvet Sky if it had to be that minor? I wanted Angelina Love to give the pin to Terrence Terrell. But it's Gail Kim, which made no sense. The Nets match, which I'm glad to see something of the X Division, but it builds terrible. You get a small segment of the menagerie. Rebel looks cute. Crazy Steve versus Sema Ion versus Manic versus Sonata. They all go in the ring asking for a shot. So Sonata gives them all a shot. The match lasts 6 or 7 minutes. Sonata wins. I would have won if you're going with this. It would have been better if it had been upper in the card of the show. And 2, it would have been better if it was promoted more last week. That the director of wrestling operations, before he got stripped of his power, had set this up. Because it would have been better than Sonata making the decision. Sonata doesn't talk a lot of English. Even if he does talk pretty good English, it just didn't fit. So it would have been better if MVP did this. Again, too soon. And I'll explain that later. Now moving on to Storm and Anderson. There wasn't that many matches in this show. And I'm getting them done now. Storm and Anderson. I didn't mind their rivalry. I didn't mind that Storm screwed over Anderson to get the title. I didn't mind Storm getting drunk out of his mind and Anderson kicking his ass. But now that Storm has kicked the ass of Anderson, I thought when the match was over, What now? Moving on to Sonata. Now, I don't know what they're actually going to do with this. Because the X Division when is it? Destination X is supposed to be coming up. And Sonata has the option C, I believe. I'm not exactly sure, but I believe he will have that chance if he doesn't lose the title. I do not believe they're going to let him have that shot. But if they have to make him credible, if he's going to actually option C it, having him deal with a James Storm is actually the wisest thing to do. He's one of the strongest heels they have. James Storm is somebody who has, well, he hasn't really gone directly into X Division much, as far as I know. He never got a title from it. I don't remember. He could have. I just don't remember. You guys can tell me below. But having James Storm deal with Sonata next week and the subsequent weeks after that, before Destination X, would actually be good. Because Sonata's been doing almost absolutely nothing. You can still have X Division matches randomly throughout the month. But I'm actually glad to see this. Now, the final match. The Monsters Ball match. With the, what is it? The Heel Twins? I'm just calling them Heel Twins right now because I haven't figured out what to call Bram and Magnus. What do you think we should call them? The Backstreet Brawlers? We gotta call them something because they need a catchphrase. And why the hell not dress them like the Brooklyn Brawler? I know people are gonna say, dude, no one wants to always see a Brooklyn Brawler type of look. Look at Dean Ambrose. Dean is coming out in jeans and a shirt like the Brooklyn Brawler did, and he's getting over great. Of course, he didn't need to have torn up clothes and look like a damn bum. But why not have Magnus and Bram come out looking like they would if they were back in England? If they were in one of the really rough angles and areas of England that was really down and out. You gotta come out looking fucking tough. You don't come out in trunks. You come out looking with jeans and a thick leather jacket and wearing some really thick fucking shades and you carrying a fucking baseball fucking bat. Not much different in New York back in the 70s and 60s. When you wanted to play, you had to look the damn part. I wouldn't mind seeing that from Bram and Magnus. Now the Monsters Ball match has been overdone. I'm sorry, it has been. It just was. But Bram did get the pin over the Abyss. That means they're trying to push Bram and really putting Magnus on the wayside to a certain extent. It's more that Magnus is being helped by Bram than Bram is being helped by Magnus. Is that better for Magnus? No. But we do need new talent. And this is what we got right now. Now, let's move on to the different segments throughout the night. We got I gotta wait. I'm sorry, I gotta wait to the end of the show. End of this review. Let's move on to the Samuel Shaw and Gunner segment. Now, I said a while ago, if you guys remember, that it's a possibility that Gunner's going to be Samuel Shaw's manager. Samuel Shaw is now being released from the insane asylum into Gunner's care. I really believe that he's going to become his either manager or partner as a wrestler. That wouldn't be a bad thing right now. Something different. If Samuel Shaw is just a tag team partner of Magnus, okay. If he's his manager first and then becomes his tag partner, I believe that'll be better for Samuel Shaw to get built up. And then he partners with Gunner. And if they turn heel together like that, that actually would work out pretty damn well. But it's still a question what's going to happen next. Let's see. The Tommy Dreamer. I'm skipping around. The Tommy Dreamer attacking EC3. There's only two things I can think of with this. One, they call Tommy Dreamer in from the House of Hardcore to either bring in an angle for Invasion, which is stupid. I'd rather see fucking Wrestle 1 than the House of Hardcore. And I'm not botching and knocking the House of Hardcore. I always like a lot of the people in the House of Hardcore. I have. John Morrison is in the House of Hardcore periodically. And I like John Morrison. And I wish he would go to TNA, actually. Maybe they can do something with him. But if they're doing an angle like that, I'm not looking fond of that. I want to see Wrestle 1. They talk about it so fucking much. Or so fucking least. Because especially now that Bound for Glory is going to be at Tokyo, Japan. I would love Wrestle 1 to be involved in TNA's product. Not the House of Hardcore. So that's a possibility. The second one is that they want to get EC3 over, and they believe that Tommy Dreamer could really get him over at Bound for Glory. Because that's what they're building to. Do I believe this is going to work? This is a question mark. I do not know. When it comes down to it, Tommy Dreamer is an ECW guy, and people care more about ECW than anybody else. The crowd was jizzing on themselves for Tommy Dreamer. To a certain extent, he's still roughly relevant because of the former promotion. But this is a former promotion that ended about 10 or 13 years ago. Think about 13 years ago. I want to see EC3 get over. But I don't think Tommy Dreamer is going to do the job properly because they're not going to let him, or he may not want to do it anyway. That's just how I feel about it. A great fight. Tommy Dreamer and EC3 had a good fight. But do I believe EC3 is going to get over? I don't think so. And what does this mean for Bully Ray now? If Tommy Dreamer is messing with EC3, what now with Bully Ray? Are they building, like I thought, all the way to Bound for Glory to put Dixie Carter through a table? Because this entire segment, taking away from the lawyer, Dixie going through a table, doesn't get put through a table. Rockstar Spud saves her ass, and he was still damn funny when he was spitting all that wine all over the ring. But does this build all the way to Bound for Glory? How far are we into this? We're in June. June, July, August, September, October. That's a 4-long-month stint. At least 4 months. I don't know if they're going to keep this going. They're going to have to end this eventually. Maybe within the next month or two, it's going to happen or not happen. And if they do drag this to Bound for Glory, people may not want to care about it. So that's a question. Should I say it now? Might as well. The segment with the lawyer from the TNA Board of Directors. Look, I'm going to say this really honestly. Seeing Robert Roode back and reinstated is great. Seeing he's working with Eli is not bad. But I really believe that this was way too soon to let MVP lose authority over the product. At least supposedly. When it comes down to it, Bobby Lashley, as I said roughly in the beginning, is someone you don't see in promotions that are major, that is black, that holds the title. I'm not a racist. And in general, you know, in wrestling promotions, generally the wrestlers are not racist. When it comes to the promoters, they generally are not all racist, but they don't feel comfortable about doing something like that because they don't think it's going to work. Because they're still going by old traditions. And those old traditions always say you don't make someone black a world champion. Maybe half black or someone who's nearly as white as possible because you think that the crowd will care more about it. And we know now that's not true. So in many cases, the promoters are not actually racist, but you do, not all of them. Some of them are. I'm not going to say who they are. But in general, racism isn't really 100% in the product. But in this case, where TNA is trying to differentiate itself from WWE as best as they possibly can, when you see this from last week, a lot of people were happy to see Bobby Lashley, even though he was not built properly, as a world champion. But now, to keep that world champion relevant, you need power behind it. The faction that was created of 3 black people having not only the title, but authority was something we had not seen in decades. But now you just stripped it. And you gave it a Kurt Angle. Angle. I thought either Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett, and I'm glad there's no Jeff Jarrett. Any Sting, maybe Bischoff coming back. I thought it was one of those guys. And I still thought the same thing. It was too soon. You gave someone you don't see normally in this type of position a very lucrative belt. And then the power that goes with that belt has been stripped. And now next week he's going up against Eli. Now there's a good chance he won't lose this. He'll still win and maybe carry it to Bound for Glory. But I would believe, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, if you have the belt and the authority, you write the checks. And that's the storyline. And having it like this doesn't make the storyline more compelling. You had it compelling last week. 100% compelling. A black faction with a black wrestler who now has the title is now the most over there is. And then you strip one of those black guys of the authority. Now what? The only thing that's left is a wrestler, Bobby Lashley, who doesn't really talk. Now, of course, MVP can compensate for that easily. That's what he's been doing. But essentially, in this position, Bobby Lashley is going to have to be promoted in a different way. He cannot talk. He doesn't have the character to pull it off. So he will become irrelevant very quickly. And this is why I believe it was too soon. 2 months down the line, alright. 3 months would have been optimal. But 1 week afterward is stupid. And I really believe this is the wrong thing to do. You guys can explain why I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, fine. I am an above average fan. I'm not great. I'm not the one that understands all of this. But you guys tell me. Do you believe that MVP should have been stripped of his authority this soon after Bobby Lashley wins the TNA World Heavyweight Champion last week? Where everyone who have been on possibly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr have put something up saying, oh shit, we got a black champion. Yay! Come on! Tell me below if I'm wrong or right. Now, I hope you enjoyed this review. Please give me a comment below and give me a thumbs up. I'm actually going to be doing a debate of the week on 2 guys. And here's one of them. Yeah, baby! Cesaro's coming up. Peace out!